Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Drs. Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition, located on Cal and Lorraine Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. We do this every Monday morning, and it is a live call-in show. So we invite you to call in. Our numbers are 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Any questions you may have regarding our topic of the day or anything regarding health, because this is a whole thing behind this show is to help you live a longer and healthier lifestyle. Well, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. That was since 1949. It was set down in the United States as being Mental Health Awareness Month. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is mental health issues. I mean, and millions of Americans deal with mental health issues on a daily basis. Some of them you may know, close friends or whatever, that are dealing with it, and you may not even know.
Yeah, that's true. You know, in the past couple of years has really kind of just brought everything to a head. I mean, you know, the people that were doing okay probably didn't have anything, but all of a sudden, you know, the stress, the not knowing, the uncertainty, and everything that this for the past 2 years, mask, not mask, all this stuff, you know, and so it's just been a real problem for people, and we've seen a real uptick in the amount of or number of people that come in looking for help because they said, you know, I've never had this before, I've never been anxious before, but you know, they just can't deal with things now, and it's really on the uptick. It really is.
Well, I mean, mental health is at has been in its as you said, in its all-time low because of the COVID situation that everybody's been going through, and stressing out about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I said, everybody probably has somewhat experienced something. I think in the last couple of years, it's probably everyone. It's more about how people cope and how they deal with it, and some people are better at coping than others. And so that was really what we want to talk about, is some of the natural things that you can do to actually help your mental health. And it's more about being mentally healthy.
Right.
And so, you know, and even if you don't want to wait until you get severe. We always tell people you don't wait until you're like everything, prevention.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have, I mean, it's
prevention.
important to have good mental health.
Right.
And for having good overall health.
Definitely.
Oh, no doubt about that.
There's no doubt that your mental health plays a big role in your physical health. Yeah. And it can affect a lot of things. And the chemicals that your body produces due to stress and depression makes a big difference as well. So that's why, you know, we do a lot of lab work that shows cortisol. And we have probably never seen as many people as high in cortisol as we've had the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And when your cortisol is high, it definitely makes more anxiety, for sure. Higher blood pressure, more anxiety, you don't sleep as well. And then when you don't sleep as well, your mental health is not as well. So sleeping is a big part of it as well. If you don't sleep well, I don't think anything works as good.
Yeah. Excuse me. Well, you know, I know some people say, oh, I can get by just fine with 5-6 hours of sleep a night.
That's not true. I actually just read a study. It's funny you say that, because there was a study that came out a few years back that said in adults, the optimal sleep was between 7 and 9 hours for an adult, and then there was another study just released, and that was what I was looking at the other day. I was reading something. I was on one of the sites that we look at research, and they were showing there was another study that says, okay, that's a big range, 7 to 9. You know, what is the optimal sleep? And they said probably more closer to the 7 or 8, depending on the quality of sleep. So the quality of sleep makes a difference too. So if you're not getting into the deep sleep, they say it still don't matter how much you sleep if you don't get enough sleep. So, but sleep plays a big role. And the brain does a lot at night while you're sleeping. To actually get rid of junk and get rid of
that's what it does. It's
reload.
That's what it really does. It does its housekeeping at night. The cerebral spinal fluid actually flushes the brain out, literally. A lot of toxic stuff builds up during the day, and so at night, and if we don't sleep well, we never flush the brain out, you know, and that's a real problem. You know, it really is. And you know, one of the big issues I think that's come up in the past couple of years, we know that, and she was talking about the neurochemistry, the chemistry that keeps our brain healthy and functioning right, and most of it is actually produced in the gut. And people's diets went to hell in a handbasket. over the past
COVID,
2 years.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, you couldn't get what you wanted or couldn't get what you needed, so it was just do what you can.
We've had
Exactly.
everybody say, "Oh, I've gained 15, 20 pounds."
Yeah.
they
COVID.
call the-
Everybody says
the
COVID
COVID
weight.
15.
Right, the
exactly.
COVID 15.
Yeah.
And of course that affects the brain as well. And, because you're not making a neurochemistry. I mean, we know because within the past 10 years or so, they've proved that something like 80% or more of the neurochemistry is produced in the gut, not in the brain. It's produced in the gut, and it gets to the brain and helps the brain, but it's also produced in the gut. And when we mess that up, we talk about probiotics all the time and eating right and everything. And then, like I say, the past couple of years,
And that's not the first thing people think about when they think about mental health is probiotics. But probiotics play a huge role in mental health. And there's been a lot of different, they've written books on it and how the probiotics affect the brain. Dr. Perlmutter does a lot on probiotics and brain function and things like that because it does make a big difference. So what you eat makes a difference as well.
Yeah, I mean, trying to stay physically healthy, and the only way to stay physically healthy, believe it or not, is to start eating right. I mean, because food is your fuel. So if we don't get the right fuel to start with, then we're going to have some issues down the road.
Well, it's depressing in itself. I mean, if you start, you start eating just to eat whatever, and you see those pounds start coming on you.
Yeah, and then that makes
and then you're going to
worse.
stand in front of the mirror and go, oh, and that's going to make you feel.
Especially women, they start gaining weight, that makes them depressed. And then the depression makes them eat more carbs, and then that makes them gain more weight. So sometimes it gets to be a never-ending circle. So you have to sometimes break the circle. And a lot of times the natural things, one of the things we use called 5-HTP, yes, it's used to increase serotonin because it turns into serotonin, but it's also used for carbohydrate cravings. So it actually helps suppress those cravings to eat the junk you shouldn't be eating. So that's one of the things that it does. So there's a lot of research on 5-HTP that shows that it actually helps weight loss. So it's used for weight loss. It actually helps you sleep. It's used for depression. It actually helps with just coping and being able to handle stress better. So it's one that we use a lot.
And I will tell you now, I take one in the morning and one in the evening.
It does make a difference.
2 a day.
Yeah, and
it does. It really does.
Oh, it does. No
And-
doubt
You can
about
tell the difference if you come off of it. I mean, it's not a something. Years and years and years and long time ago, there was I was going through a situation. I was on Prozac for a little while, for about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the way that it made me feel because it makes you feel like you don't care about nothing.
Yeah.
So I got off of it cold turkey. That's a mistake
Yeah.
in itself. So so that's what some of these antidepressants can do to you. But the great thing about the 5-HTP is it's all natural and everything, and it's really good.
Yeah, works well.
So anyway, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Those are our phone lines. We're talking about mental health this morning. So if you have any questions, pick up the phone and give us a call. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. And welcome back to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. We're talking about mental health as this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Are there early signs that we could be developing mental health issues?
Well, just sometimes, inability to cope. I think that's probably one that we see the most.
Yeah. And actually, one of the things you'll hear people say, and I've heard this a lot again in the last couple of years, is that people stop wanting to do what they liked.
The joy's gone.
Yeah. They get to where they don't want to do anything that they liked doing before. That is a
Hobbies.
sign that it's coming on, and don't wait until it's worse. And like I said, whether you go to the doctor and do something from the doctor, whether you go see a therapist and talk to somebody, or whether you do something natural, you need to do something. So that's the big thing is don't wait until it gets worse because that's the kind of things you start seeing at first. Now, some people, you have different people do different things. When it comes to depression, some people eat constantly and some people stop eating at all. So I mean, everybody's different on how it comes out. So people are different, but when things are changing and you feel down and anxiety is probably more what we hear of than anything is, especially women, is anxiety.
But even there's been
There's a lot of men that's had it though too.
I would
lately.
say maybe would consider it an abnormal amount of men too, because they're dealing with stuff that they don't normally deal with through the past couple of years, and then we've been a lot of us may be right on that border where we can kind of deal with it. We can do this. We can maybe get into a hobby or something, kind of a diversion. And then all of a sudden, if that stops being fun, well, what do you do? I mean, it just
Right.
it kind of caves in on you, and that's what you don't want. Ask for help, seek help. That early is the key.
And I'm sure, I mean, there's other things that people probably try to turn to, alcohol for one.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
also. Well, I think that's probably why you're seeing more and more of the, I mean, of course, the alcohol always goes up, whether in good times or bad times. That's kind of the way that works. They're celebrating or crying in their beer, so to speak. And we don't want that, but that's kind of what happens.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that you can do. I mean, not even
That was
just
going to be my next question. And what are some of the things that you can do?
Not
when some
even
of these
just
signs
things
appear?
that you can take for depression. There are nutrients. There are basic nutrients that has been shown to help dramatically. There's a lot of studies on using omega-3 fish oil and vitamin D together for depression. And they have had some really good studies to show really good benefits, but it's not short term. You can't take it for one day and you see a difference. It is more of a long-term thing.
Right.
And everybody should be taking omega-3s anyway because they're so deficient in the American diet. So that's something that, and most people are deficient in vitamin D as well. B vitamins. A lot of times B vitamins for years were called stress tabs because for one, during stress, the body needs and uses more B vitamins. So under stressful times, you're going to deplete your B vitamins quicker. So replacing the B vitamins make a big difference.
Huge.
Magnesium is a big factor too. Magnesium is what they call a cofactor, which is used in many different processes in the body. I believe it's over 300 processes in the body use magnesium. So if you don't have the adequate magnesium, then things don't work properly either.
Yeah, and there's so many other compounds, things like, for instance, drinking tea sometimes helps. Well, they found one of the amino acids that's in tea called theanine, L-theanine, and it's very calmative to the brain. And so now we have L-theanine isolated into a capsule you can take, and it makes a world of difference in how you feel and function. And so, little things like that, but like say drinking tea helps tremendously. Green tea, a lot of people, and hey, look at the other health benefits of drinking green tea.
And you mentioned amino acids. Amino acids are so important.
Huge.
When it comes to the brain chemistry, a lot of things naturally that help are amino acids. And they have different functions, like the 5-HTP we mentioned, it actually turns into serotonin, so it increases serotonin. L-tyrosine, which is another amino acid, increases dopamine. Then you have phenylalanine. Phenylalanine increases norepinephrine. So all those chemicals play a role in mental health. And a lot of people are deficient in protein.
We see that more
Protein is where you get your amino acids. So if you don't get enough protein, you probably are going to have some mental issues because you're not getting the amino acids that your body needs in order to make these brain chemicals. So that's what, it's all about trying to make your own body have the brain chemistry that it needs and function properly. And like we said, probiotics play a role, omega-3s play a role.
They do.
Yeah.
And the diet. I mean, we harp on that a lot. And people probably get tired of hearing it, but it's a fact. I mean, unfortunately, it's a fact of life. That's what we have to deal with. So what you eat actually you are what you eat. And if you eat the wrong things long enough, then the brain or anything else can't really function properly. So yeah, it's a real big deal. So right back to the diet, something that simple. But we see an awful lot of people who don't get enough protein.
Now, exercise is another thing that definitely can help.
Next
You're reading my notes?
No, I'm not. But it really,
I was going to say, does staying active both physically and mentally help decrease the chances of you having mental health issues?
Definitely.
Most definitely.
So physical and keeping your brain working makes a difference. The thing is now exercise is great until you over-exercise.
Right.
It increases cortisol. So if you do too much exercise, and we're saying too much, most people do not do that. We're talking about 3 and 4 hours a day of strenuous exercise, which there are those
not
people.
Unless you're into bodybuilding or something.
There are some
like
of the people that do that,
Yeah.
and everyone
And
that comes in
not
has high
healthy.
cortisol. And then they have other issues because of the high cortisol. So you don't want to over-exercise, but most people really aren't in danger of that. Most people are in danger of under-exercising. So and then people say, well, I don't have time. Take 15 minutes. It don't take a lot of time. And then another big factor is sunlight. I mean, sunlight has so much research on mental health.
Yeah.
You got to have, that's why during the winter, people tend to have lower mental health because of no sunlight, or not as much sunlight, I should say.
There's just not as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people not getting out in it.
When you think about, if you go back and look at somebody like Albert Einstein, he and a lot of other, we'll call them genius people in our time, we go back and look at their activity, and they would, stop in the middle of the day, get out and take a walk and clear their mind, as they would say it. That's what they always said, clear their mind. Well, that's what you're doing, is kind of turning everything off, getting away from the ringing phones and whatever, and just kind of get out, get some sunshine, fresh air.
Meditation.
Meditation.
Another good thing for mental health. So there's a lot of things you can do yourself to try to help in that area. Yeah.
All right. And one of the things that I started doing a year and a half ago, I got back, because something I did 27 years ago, I got back into studying martial arts.
Yeah.
Right.
Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And that's both
exercise
physically and mentally.
Yeah,
It,
and so
trains
staying
you.
active, that
Yeah,
does
yeah.
make a difference, staying active.
Very much so.
No doubt.
All right, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you with any questions you might have regarding mental health or any other health issues. We'll take a break and be back with this week's special. And welcome back. It's our final segment this morning on the Doctor's Nutrition Show. Our phone lines are open at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Let's go ahead and look at what the special of the week is.
And it's 5-HTP.
5-HTP, right. What else, right?
Now we have two different strengths. There's the 50 milligram and the 100 milligram. Most adults do the 100 milligram.
Yeah.
We do carry the 50 milligram because for kids, usually we do smaller doses.
Right.
And it really depends on the age and all that, on what dose you do. On the 5-HTP, we did want to let people know you cannot take 5-HTP if you are on a prescription antidepressant. So you don't want to mix the two. So it's really for someone that is not on an antidepressant already and you want to add it. Now we do have things, just to let you know, if you are on an antidepressant, there's other things you still can do if you are still having problems. So that's one that, the theanine that he mentioned, that is safe with any medication. That's what's so good about theanine. It is one of the safest things you can take. It works on brain waves.
Right.
And so it works on the alpha waves in the brain, and the way it works is so different than any of the medications and actually even the other supplements. So
And there's other things too, like she talks about the amino acids, and we've got some amino acid blends put together.
We do.
That are really specific for brain function.
Right.
And they truly do help. Also good for preventing dementia and everything too. So,
Right.
so it's one of those things.
there's actually some good research. Well, actually,
really is.
depression and dementia go hand in hand when you see
Yes.
a lot of the research.
Yeah.
The more depressed
Yeah.
a person is, the more likely they are to get dementia as they get older.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of things that have come out even recently about
Right.
that.
Okay. Joyce called in and said, how much vitamin D and omega-3 should I take?
Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing, on your vitamin D level, for instance, we always recommend doing a lab test, see where you are. It's like, and I always equate it back to your car. You don't just go out and raise the hood on your car and pour a quart of oil in it. You check it first. Same thing with vitamin D, because you want to keep vitamin D in a very narrow range, where you want that. So that's the vitamin D aspect of it. As far as the fish oil, it takes, when you look at, when you say omega-3s, omega-3, yeah, that is the good fats, but then the ones we're specifically looking for is something called EPA or DHA, or actually both. And those, you're going to have, we think, a good minimum dose based on research that's been done, and for adults, it's going to be at least 1,000 or more of your EPA a day, and DHA somewhere 500 or greater. And our omega-3s, if you take 2 of them, gives you 1,000 units of D, which is good. Yeah, right.
D 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000. And it gives you about 900 and something.
990, I think, EPA, which is right at it. Yeah.
Right at it.
Yeah.
And then gives
660 of DHA.
Right. And so all of those things. It's when you look at it, the omega-3s. Joyce, you can't just really say, okay, let me take this much. It's about getting the specifics about the DHA.
Right, and that's why you
Yeah.
recommend doing blood work, because
Right.
that's one of the things that I did to find out exactly what I needed with mine. So I take, as far as the omega-3, I take 2 in the morning and 1 at night before I go to bed. And the ADK2, which has the D in it. I take one every other day.
Right, because
So that
every
was,
day
that's
was,
what I needed.
was too much
Right,
for
that's-
you.
yeah.
And so that is the best way to do it, is to check it. Now on our omega-3s, since they do have some D in it, everybody can safely pretty much take 2 twice a day, and you aren't going to get usually too much D from that if you're an adult.
No.
And even kids, it depends on the age of the kid. A lot of teenagers can take 2,000 with no problem. So in a little kid, we have a liquid fish oil that we use, and actually it's flavored, so most people say it's pretty good. Every once in a while somebody is like, ooh, this tastes like fish. But
Actually, I tried it.
some people taste nothing but the flavoring, so it's weird how people's tastes are different, so it really does.
The thought, okay, liquid fish oil. I'm like, So before I could tell somebody with a straight face, that, here, take
that
this.
bad, yeah.
So I tried it, and I was really surprised. I thought,
They hid this pretty good.
they did a great job of, the orange flavored one.
We have orange and strawberry.
Yeah, and the orange flavored one, all I tasted was orange. And I thought, well, gee, this is not bad.
Yeah.
Because you take a teaspoon or a tablespoon of it, I believe, a teaspoon, and you take that, you whiff it down,
And it's
you don't
great
even
for
know it.
brain function too. So for kids, it really does help with in school too.
And
just
even the
making
fish oil
them-
that you have for adults. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no,
Well, you
there's
just
no
swallow
taste
them.
to it. Yeah, I just swallow
those
them.
you swallow.
yeah.
So
Those
that,
you just
that-
swallow.
yeah,
Yeah.
And ours are distilled, so it doesn't have a lot of it doesn't have any of the contaminants, and it actually doesn't have a lot of the fishiness. Now I can't say none because it is fish oil, but it is less than others because of the way it's processed.
And a lot of people that have issues with taking fish oil and so on, if they'll, and we always tell them, look, it's real simple. Put it in a freezer. Get it ice cold, so to speak. Take it, and then when you take it first, then eat a little bit on top of it. It's going to be first in, first out of the stomach. So, and it's by the time it warms up and starts dissolving, it's in the small intestine. You're done with it. So
Another thing I was just thinking that we haven't mentioned, and that it really can play a big role in helping with depression, is SAMe.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
SAMe, S-adenosyl methionine. Some people, it's one of those things that if you do well with it, some people take it and they say, yeah, it helped some, but the people that do, it's like,
it's a miracle drug.
it is. They can't believe the difference.
Yeah.
So SAMe is something else, and it's usually just a one a day, so it's really easy to take. On the one that we have, ours is a strong one.
Yeah.
So on that one, you just take one, and people can tell a huge difference. Usually within the first 3 or 4 days, they can tell a difference.
Well, I've
and
had
it's
some-
also good for
yeah.
joint pain. It's good for liver function. It's good. That's the good thing about SAMe, is it's good for other things as well.
But I've literally had somebody that I gave them a sample of SAMe, and I only gave them like 2. You take one today and one tomorrow, and they would be back the next day because they took that one, and they said, I got to have that stuff. It really works. And it's like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So it can work really fast. And again, it's an amino acid. That's what it is, the type of amino
It's
acid.
in that family. Like I
It's
said,
in that
that's the family. Like I said, amino acids. That's why when you think about it, where do you get amino acids naturally? You get it in
Protein. And that's why you want a variety of
Right.
proteins. You don't just want
Because not every protein
One
has the
thing.
same
amino acids.
kinds of amino acids
Right.
in it. So you want different proteins, which is why you don't want to just eat chicken every meal. You don't want to just eat, you kind of
Right.
change it up. And like I said, you get a different amount from nuts. So it's just
Yeah.
different.
And fish, and good Lord, we
Fish
live in
is
a
real
place,
good, yeah.
this is a place to eat seafood, and
Yeah.
variety of seafood.
Right.
Exactly.
It's really, we live in, years ago we were doing a radio show, and we had Dr. Cordain on, he did the paleo diet thing. And he said, oh my God, you live in Mecca, because you got all this seafood available.
Exactly. All right, that's going to wrap up this week's show. Now, next week, we're going to kind of start a series on anti-aging.
Yeah, something everybody should be interested in.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
because we all want to try to everybody's going to get older, but you want to do it gracefully.
Yes, definitely.
That's it.
Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for joining us. You can find a lot more information at doctorsnutrition.com, or go to their Facebook page and find a whole bunch of information there as well. So again, please have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. We'll see you again next Monday morning here at 9 o'clock with the Doctor's Nutrition Show.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.